Canada is currently in the midst of a historic and monumental transformation of its defense and foreign policy, a strategic shift that is fundamentally redefining its identity and role on the world stage. Welcome viewers to my channel. If you're new here, please subscribe, like my video and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next update. This pivot, orchestrated by Prime Minister Mark Carney's government, represents a decisive and deliberate break from decades of a defense posture often characterized by a focus on peacekeeping and a passive reliance on its southern neighbor. This new strategy is not merely a tactical adjustment but a comprehensive re-evaluation of Canada's place in a profoundly volatile international environment. It's a move toward a new form of strategic autonomy, balancing its deep-seated ties with the United States against the urgent need for diversified and independent alliances to safeguard its national interests in an increasingly multipolar world. Embracing a European defense ecosystem and rejecting over-reliance. At the very core of this strategic realignment is Prime Minister Carney's landmark announcement of Canada's firm intent to join Rearm Europe, a far-reaching and highly ambitious initiative designed to dramatically increase defense spending and foster industrial integration across the European continent. This decision is a direct response to a long-standing and, according to Carney, unwise, over-reliance on the United States for military procurement. He publicly highlighted a staggering and deeply concerning statistic. A full 75 cents of every defense capital dollar spent by Canada is funneled directly into the American defense industrial complex. This overdependence not only creates a significant trade imbalance but also renders Canada's military capabilities vulnerable to the political whims, export controls, and technological limitations of a single country. By joining Rearm Europe, Canada seeks to achieve a dual objective. First, it aims to proactively diversify its supply chains and procurement options by integrating with a robust and advanced European defense technology base. This could lead to a new era of collaborative ventures, such as co-developing next-generation fighter aircraft to replace Canada's aging fleet, jointly building naval vessels to patrol its vast coastlines, and sharing critical research and development in areas like cybersecurity and quantum computing. This approach stands in stark contrast to the traditional U.S. procurement model, which often involves strict, Buy American, clauses and limited technology transfer, essentially turning Canada into a mere customer rather than a partner. Second, this move is designed to catalyze the growth of Canada's own domestic defense industrial sector. By participating in large-scale European projects, Canadian companies will gain access to new markets, secure long-term contracts, and build a more resilient, innovative, and self-sufficient defense industry capable of sustaining Canada's military needs long into the future, creating skilled jobs and intellectual property within its borders. A comprehensive response to a new era of geopolitical threats. The urgency behind this strategic shift is rooted in a sober and detailed assessment of a global security landscape that has become increasingly volatile. During his address at a military trade show, Defense Minister David McGuinty underscored this new reality by citing key international flashpoints. First, he pointed to Russia's brutal invasion of Ukraine, which has not only shattered the post-Cold War security order but has also demonstrated the renewed importance of conventional military strength and the fragility of international peace. The conflict has forced a re-evaluation of security doctrines across the globe, compelling Canada to step up its role in collective defense against a state that uses not only military force but also energy as a weapon, and employs sophisticated disinformation campaigns to destabilize its adversaries. Second, McGuinty highlighted the growing assertiveness of China, which poses a multifaceted challenge ranging from military expansion in the South China Sea to economic coercion and state-sponsored intellectual property theft on a global scale. These are not distant threats, they directly impact Canadian interests, from the security of global trade routes to the integrity of its domestic critical infrastructure and supply chains. Beyond these global challenges, McGuinty also underscored the escalating importance of the Arctic region, a critical area of national sovereignty that is increasingly becoming a new theater for geopolitical competition. As climate change melts the polar ice, new shipping lanes, such as the Northwest Passage, and access to vast untapped natural resources are becoming a reality, drawing the attention of global powers like Russia, China, and the US. To assert its sovereignty in this immense, sparsely populated territory, Canada must invest in new military assets, such as polar-class icebreakers, deep-water ports, and a network of advanced radar and satellite surveillance systems, to patrol and monitor its vast northern frontiers against intrusion and illegal activity. This represents a significant and long overdue investment in Canada's own territorial integrity. A unified front and symbolic commitment. The gravity of this new defense agenda was powerfully underscored by its inclusion in the Speech from the Throne, a formal and solemn event that outlines the government's policy blueprint for a new parliamentary session. The choice to have King Charles III deliver the speech in person during a royal visit was a deliberate and deeply symbolic act. By having the monarch, who serves as the head of the Canadian Armed Forces, personally declare the government's commitment to rebuilding, rearming, and reinvesting in the military, the message was elevated from a mere political promise to a formal declaration of national intent. This act not only reinforced Canada's constitutional identity as a parliamentary monarchy, distinct from its republican neighbor, but also demonstrated a unified and unwavering commitment from all levels of the state. The address's explicit mention of strengthening defense ties with Europe and joining the Rearm Europe plan cemented this shift as a cornerstone of the new government's mandate. Navigating U.S. demands in the Golden Dome tangle. This strategic pivot is also a direct response to a long-standing source of friction with the United States and the broader demands of NATO. For decades, Canada has consistently fallen short of NATO's 2% defense spending target, a position often defended by politicians and the public with arguments about its peacekeeping contributions and a preference for social programs over military investment. However, this stance has come under immense pressure, particularly in the wake of the new proposal by NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte to increase the alliance's spending target to a monumental 5% of GDP. This dramatic increase signals a new era of military readiness and places immense pressure on member states. The long-standing criticism of Canada has intensified, with prominent U.S. figures, such as House Speaker Mike Johnson, accusing the country of riding on America's coattails, a phrase that captures the American frustration with allies who benefit from U.S. military protection without shouldering what is perceived as a fair share of the financial burden. This tension reached a fever pitch during discussions about Canada's potential participation in the American Golden Dome missile defense system. While high-level talks were underway, U.S. President Donald Trump, in a highly provocative move, posted on his social media platform that the system would cost Canada $0 if it were to become the cherished 51st state. This was more than just rhetoric, it was a direct challenge to Canada's sovereignty that forced an immediate and public response. The Prime Minister's office swiftly and unequivocally reaffirmed that Canada is an independent, sovereign nation, and it will remain one. The diplomatic fallout was further highlighted by Canada's UN ambassador, who, in a powerful and pointed social media post, publicly compared the president's offer to a protection racket, a metaphor that succinctly captured the coercive and disrespectful nature of the proposal. This entire incident serves as a microcosm of the fundamental challenge Canada faces, maintaining a cooperative relationship with its most powerful neighbor while simultaneously asserting its independent identity and strategic autonomy in a rapidly changing world.